Coming to you live from the JRE Tobacco Aladino Mobile Studios, it's the Cigar Pulpit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm the Bishop of the Burn, Nick, and today I've got a special guest. I am going to be joined by Litto Gomez Jr. of Flor Dominicana. And Litto is, he's a young man, and he's one of the new generation of cigar manufacturers. You know, he's one of the kids coming up in the industry, and he has taken time out of his day to sit and have a conversation with me that I think it's important. I sat and I talked with Litto about the cigar industry and La Flor Dominicana, where it's at now and where he thinks it will be 15 years from now. I wanted to look into the future, talk about advancements, technology, all sorts of different things that I think are going to be important for the industry going forward into the future. So why don't we go ahead and jump right into that? And by the way, if you're not familiar with Litto Gomez Jr., I had an episode with him a little while back, and I recommend that you go back and listen to that if you're not familiar with him at all, because that's the episode where I kind of dive into him and his person and him personally and his family and the company and the tradition. Here, I'm making the assumption that you know him. He's a friend of the show, and we're just going right into it. So buckle up. We're just jumping right in. So again, if you missed my previous conversation with Litto, you don't have to go back and listen to that, but it gives you some insight into him and his personality. And then now this episode, you will get the first part of our conversation about the future of the cigar industry. So I will catch you guys on the other side of that. Well, I am joined today by Litto Gomez Jr. of La Flor Dominicana. How you doing, buddy?
How's it going, Nick? It's nice.
You know what?
It's
wonderful.
What's up to my audience? Thank you for tuning in. I'm giving a little preemptive thank you. That way, if this interview blows 2 minutes in, you could just quit watching, and I would have already said my thank yous. So thank you for watching. I'm super excited.
You're blowing up over there, man.
How do I mute my?
I don't know. You're a popular fellow today.
Yeah,
I would think every day, but
no, it's not popular. It's just angry retailers,
Yeah. It happens.
Right. But it's happy to be back. I know a lot of time has passed since the last one, so I know you have some crazy questions, and we're gonna get into it.
Yes.
But what are you smoking today, bro?
Dude, so I have 2 cigars pulled here because fair warning to the listeners, this may become a 2-part episode because I have a lot of really good, intricate questions, and I hope that we can get into a lot of it. So the first one, well, I'll start with the first one because it's one that I've been sitting on for a while. And I figured, you know what? It's a good time for this. And I have an Andalusian Bull that I've sat on for, it's been years.
I haven't smoked
this
one.
This is a number of years.
I haven't smoked one in 3 to 4 years. I don't smoke them.
No, I remember that from our last time that we talked. You don't. It's not your favorite blend that you guys put out.
No, it's not. But not even that. It's just because of the demand on that cigar. If retailers see me start smoking it, I may get crucified more than.
How are you smoking that? But I can't get it, kind of thing. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So out of respect and solidarity, not smoking bulls around here.
There you go. What have you got? Or do you smoke?
I'm not smoking because my nose has decided that in 2026 it will have a flare up and possibly a sinus infection every time I get within the radius of smoke. So
that seems to be a pretty big problem.
It is, yeah. It sounds counterintuitive. It sounds really counterintuitive. After PCA, I got a really bad sinus infection. Couple events I've been to this year, same thing. So I'm trying to take it slow.
There you go.
Smoking I've done has been when we're over in the factory and I have to work on blends and things like that. Then I'll smoke, right? But trying to figure out what's going on first, then address it, and then I'm going to be smoking like there's no tomorrow. To be honest, I am super excited about it because when I don't, everybody, my palate kind of resets.
Yep.
And I could taste everything like that. So I'm really excited for when the day comes soon where I'm clear to go and I could begin smoking like I used to. So
that's a good positive outlook on it.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's the only thing keeping me somewhat mentally okay from the fact that I can't smoke right now.
All right. Yeah. Well, normally I would talk about the cigar, but would you mind telling my listeners all about the Andalusian Bull?
So the Andalusian Bull is a wildly unknown cigar from the La Flor Dominicana portfolio that nobody really wants to smoke because of its size and this and that. All of that was comments made in 2016 when we initially released the cigar. Little did we know later on it would go on to win the Cigar of the Year. Why is that important? I mean, other than the fact that it's cool and it feels great to be celebrated, it is what it is. What's important is that now we're talking about it 10 years later, and it still happens to be the #1 requested cigar in the world, the most in demand cigar, and it's smoking exactly how it smoked when it came out in 2016.
Love it.
So
love it.
We could start this conversation, but I know you've been in the industry for a long time to know that is rarely the case with any cigars, any #1s, and anything like that. We're incredibly blessed that we received that honor, but we're even happier that the fact that we're coming up with the same product 10 years later.
No, that's
even though how hard it's been to keep it in stock, and we failed at keeping it in stock for a while. But it's one of those things that, and it's just like all the other cigars we make, right? Like we make them so that if somebody falls in love with it, that experience comes back every time we smoke it, and that's kind of the reason I bring that up is because that's a big, that's a huge motto for us here at La Flor, right? And it's a motivator and it's a driver, so. It's a cool little bit. The blend on that, it's an Ecuadorian Corojo at a medium cut or a medium priming on top of a grown Dominican filler and binder. It's an incredibly unique shape. Personally, I don't like it because it is larger ring gauge. I will say because it does have the taper at the top and it comes in, I'd rather smoke that than a 60 ring gauge. I will say that.
Yeah, I get that.
But it is a phenomenal cigar. I'm happy you're smoking one up. It seems like you haven't smoked one in a while.
I have not.
Recently, it's been really cool because people have we don't vintage them, but people have been keeping records of vintages.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll hear people say having the argument the 2022 Bull was better than the 19 Bull. It's all the same. Right. But people are keeping them. And to me, that's cool to see because there's still that following and that demand, and people go back and buy and we'll see if there's a difference in between one or the other. And that's dope. Right.
No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to cut the cigar, and the official cutting is brought to you by 2guyscigars.com. That's the number 2guyscigars.com. Two Guys have been around for 40 years, and they are the trusted name in the cigar industry. Everybody knows Two Guys, but if you don't, please give them a try. You won't be sorry. Family owned and operated, 2guyscigars.com does the very best to provide a great selection, fair prices, and excellent customer service. So head on over to 2guyscigars.com for your next cigar purchase. Tell them that the Cigar Pulpit sent you. And remember, that's the number 2guyscigars.com. And Two Guys was what, your third account? Something like that? I feel like Dave talks about that.
They were there, probably the third account. They were there early, and they supported in large strides.
Yeah.
Two Guys is an amazing operation on multiple levels. Uncle Dave, as I call him, Ruffalo, he is the last historian of the cigar industry almost, right? There's very few guys. George Brightman's one of them, and Dave's the other one that comes to mind that I had the pleasure of being their rep back when I was a sales rep, and a lot a lot of what I know now came from the 8 hours of hanging out in his office every time. I would always block 2 hours and tell myself, I will get out of here on time today. That never worked. But no,
No.
I'm incredibly thankful for, them as an operation, but most importantly, them as people.
Well,
They've
those
helped me
eight
out a
hours,
lot, and they're great people. Then,
those 8 hours just fly by though, because you're sitting there and you're
dude, it is insane. And then you got Agnes making coffee, and then Oliver comes to say hi, and then it's awesome.
mm-hmm,
Awesome.
mm-hmm.
And then
Oh,
you have
it's
like 8 coffees in 8 hours, and you're there scratching the neck. Like, I gotta get out of here. The walls are closing in.
Dude, I'll tell you, that was so I popped down to Miami in October and met with a few people, and holy shit, it's the same thing down there. Every time I turn around, someone's giving me this just a little coffee, not a big thing or anything like that. And by the end of the day, I'm
the
shaking.
percent of caffeine in that little serving is very different from what you're
Dude,
used to.
I know. It's like I'm seeing angels and I'm fucking shaking here, and it's like, what is going on? So this stuff, I mean,
If you wonder why everybody's so on edge in Miami or Florida as a whole, that's exactly it. Everyone's just either coked out or caffeinated out of their mind.
dude, there is high octane and there is rocket fuel, and they're drinking rocket fuel, man. It's nuts. So
Great. I've had 2 of them today. I feel good.
well, there you go. So, all right, now it's appropriate that you mentioned that this cigar came out 10 years ago, and here we are 10 years later.
Yes.
When this came out, because today we're not talking about the past, we're talking the future, and I'm talking the far future. We're talking 15 years into the future here. I want to talk all about LFD and the cigar industry in like 2040, 2041. We're taking this kind of far out. Everybody talks 5 years out, like, oh, which 5-year plan? No. I want to talk 15 years. I want to get really big and broad with this. All right. So we're going to start big picture, future outlook here. When you look 15 years out, are you more optimistic or concerned about the premium industry, and why?
It's a great question, man. Look, I'm an optimist by nature, and it has everything to do with and how I work is I really have no idea what it'll look like in 20 years. I know, I like to focus more on what I have to work on now, and then things will naturally fall into place. But overall, I am very optimistic, right? I think that right now in the immediate future, right, the next 2 years, the past 2 years have been great for cigars already, right? I think all the boutiques who emerged from COVID are now have now solidified. Not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them have solidified their place in the market, right? And they're slowly becoming larger brands. And I think for us, is what I've noticed is I think, there's a lot of, I don't want to say optimism towards like legacy brands, but for a while there, that's what it felt like. But I think in reality, the consumer of today has kind of realized that, you know what, I know I can trust these people when it comes to quality, right? So if I'm going to try out new things, I may want to try out what they want or what they have that I haven't tried out in the past, right? So I think this puts us in a great place, right? And towards the immediate future, the past 2 years now with the government, and I don't want to have a political conversation because there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, going on. But for cigars, things have eased up, right? The Instagram shadow bans aren't as tough. You have cigar companies are now posing as communities, and we're allowed to do that because we are communities in our own respect. And it's great. So we have a lot of tools right now. We have highways that we could go on.
Okay.
Right. So I'm optimistic because of that, right? What's going to happen 2 to 4 years when there's a new election or when this, I don't know. I think that there are new boogeymen that politicians rather go after than us. And I hope it continues going that way. We just had a huge win from the FDA. So on that front, I think we're primed, right? I think what we're doing now, I think as an industry, although you get a lot of bastardized releases and concepts in this, there are a couple companies that continue to push boundaries when it comes to blending, the quality of their tobacco, packaging, which now, packaging 80% of a blend now has to do with the bands and the boxes.
Yeah.
It's a hard truth that it's a hard pill that we have to swallow. Right? In a perfect world, you let blends speak for themselves. 80% of that blend is what goes into the packaging, the box, the full storyline. And in a way, I love that, right? Because it requires more work. And, the consumer is a lot smarter now, and they see through like the gimmicks. And I think that's a beautiful thing, especially with who we are as a company. We've never been about gimmicks. I think the consumer now, too, this new young breed of consumer, they're asking where tobaccos are grown, what farms. It's not just brand centric anymore. It's not just I like LFD because it's LFD. There's a lot of that, right? There's a lot of that with a lot of brands. Fuente smokers smoke Fuente, Padron smokers smoke Padron,
for sure.
LFD smokers smoke LFD. But then you have this new batch that they're kind of just chasing ideas and concepts, packaging to a point, but also like what varietals. I know I like Criollo, so all that is great, right? For us, I think, and why I bring all this up is because when we're looking 15 years in the future, I think that we're in great shape. But there's a lot we have to keep doing, right? We need to continue pushing the boundaries on packaging. We need to continue, or my never-ending pursuit of being a retailer first company, right? And I know that can be twisted because but like in 15 years, online is a big movement. Yep, but at the end of the day, I'm a big believer in customer service, and you don't have that online.
Yeah.
Right. So I genuinely think retail and brick and mortar will continue to serve a large role, even if that's just and I'm talking about 15 years, right? Even if that's just in the exploratory phase of the consumer journey, right? When I want to spend $20 on a cigar, I'm telling you, I'm not doing a random purchase from a website.
Yeah.
Going into somebody who knows more than I do about this, and I'm learning, right? But I also think there's a lot of other things that we need to improve on, right? I think as a culture, right, cigars for the most part are our lives. We love cigars. We make it our livelihood. We make it our after work. It's what we do. It's what we love, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But this new consumer, I think it's incredibly important to note, this new consumer may not be like that. And it's okay if a 25-year-old walks in and has no idea what a Maduro is. And I think certain responses like have to change if we want to continue bringing in this new consumer. And I think cigars have a lot of qualities that adhere to Gen Z people like myself, right? Extremely limited, handmade. They have, these cigars now have crazy storylines that for the most part are true. We don't make a single cigar that we made just to put out a cigar. Right? They all have some sort of historic value to us. And, the cigars, the other thing too is cigars to my generation, it could also become a thing like a status symbol. Like, what does it say about you? Yeah. It doesn't say you're a cigar guy, but it means the cigar kind of means the same as, what type of like clothes you wear, the bracelets you wear, the fact that you have Whoop, the fact that you're active, right? That's what cigars in. And we as on the cigar side kind of have to like see that, and when we speak to these new consumers, kind of treat it like that, right? So I think there's a lot we could keep doing. In terms of the product and the packaging, this is the best period of cigars ever. At least I know we are pumping out the best cigars we've ever made in our history as a company. And I think if we continue the little things that we do every day and holding that standard in 15 years, hopefully this industry is 100 times the size in the consumer group. um, than it is now. And, it's driven by quality and innovation and also individuality, right? I think that's a huge thing. That's why I love who we are as a brand, because we're a brand and we do everything for ourselves. And if you don't like it, cool.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. There's something for everybody in the industry,
There's
and you
something
guys are
for
putting out
everybody,
what
man.
you like, and hopefully a lot of people come along on that journey.
Yeah. So I don't have a concrete 15, 20 years, but I know we're on the right track and I know what we have to do. I think cigars, hopefully soon, we were able to break into mainstream culture. That's a big personal goal I have for myself. I know my marketing guy, Eddie, and we have a lot of cool ideas, and, it's kind of how do we bring cigars to the people who aren't already smoking?
Here's the thing. I think there are, to the point of mainstream culture, I think back in the 90s, everybody talks about all the celebrities that were on the cover of Cigar Aficionado and everything like that. There are plenty of celebrities that could be potential, like, I hate the term, but I'm going to use it, influencers on the society at large that smoke cigars, but they do so quietly and privately to themselves. They
That's my
don't,
point.
yeah. And it's like, we need to, like, be loud and, well, not loud,
Yeah.
but out in public with it. It's like, who cares?
100%. I think that's where we need to help them out with that, right?
Yeah.
And we need to, like, by doing collaborations with lifestyle brands and things like that, right? That's a big thing I'm on personally. And I certainly think that this new FDA ruling helps our case a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And regarding that, I don't think we're going to see a million new shops open this year, but I think in the next 2 years, we're going to see a big uptick in brick and mortars and higher end lounges. And that's another thing, right? Jesus. Higher end lounges. Since PCA, we've opened 3 that are, focusing on the lounge aspect. Right. And this is me personally, this isn't my guys, but these higher end, like, members clubs with all the perks in the world that want to focus on tailored experiences with, let's have an Eagle Rare bottle here on my desk. So, like, bringing in representatives to talk about it, it's all about ritual now. And I think the lounge scene is about to blow up in the places that you're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So Florida, PA. Yeah, PA. Like, I feel like you're going to be seeing that a lot more. And I think that's great for us, because now we're not just a place for cigar people to hang out, right? We're a place
for sure
to hang out. And I think that's incredibly important for both us manufacturers, but also retailers, to begin processing and not changing their ways, but thinking about how to be part of that.
For sure. Well, okay. So there's a lot to unpack just there. And then obviously I have lots more to go. But let's focus in kind of as to LFD and kind of what you've been doing the last couple of years to get to this point, and then we can go further into the future. So not to, like, play gotcha or anything like that, but I'm going to ask a pretty straightforward question. LFD, post-COVID, seemed like around COVID, kind of in that area, you guys had some issues getting product to stores.
Yes.
And there were some accounts that were not necessarily happy. How have things progressed? Where are things at now? What kind of things have you guys done to mitigate that? And just let's talk about LFD and where you're at right now.
There's a lot, man. It's crazy. The past year and a half feels like 8 years.
Okay.
All the shit that we've been doing. But yeah, so when I was promoted to the role I'm in now, so is it 23? No, it was in September. It was 24. So, like, October of 24. When the bull happened, and then, and this is way before COVID, but when the bull happened, right, you get this explosion of people hearing your brand for the first time. And yes, the back order was on bull, but the demand increased everywhere else. And people think we're this monster in terms of production because of our name. We're not. This year will be the first year ever, truly, that we hit closer to 5 million cigars.
Okay.
Which is, compared to the people that we're placed next to, right? That's a lot less. That's a lot less.
Yeah.
So there was always just a misconception. And then when COVID happened, right, the problems we already happened just grew exponentially, and we couldn't keep up with the demand. And that was on the production side, but also on my side of things, there was like a lack of I guess like vigilance of thinking, well, if we're in a hard place, and maybe we should begin allocating product accordingly. Or maybe we should, and this sounds terrible to say, but like maybe we should begin in making sure that we are supplying the right people with the right amount. Maybe we overextended ourselves in a number of distribution points in terms of shops and vendors. And all of those things were really my focus, right? So we trimmed a lot of the excess on the accounts, and we instituted a bunch of systems that were able to reward you for succeeding with LaFleur, right? It's a lot of other companies have let's say purchasing requirements, right? Ours isn't necessarily like that. It's simply a grading scale based on how many SKUs from regular production you carry.
Okay.
And that all has to do with in my mind, being a retailer first company, that is a lot more fair in order to judge a small mom and pop who can't spend $100,000 a year on a single brand, right? It's the fairest way of judging support in my mind.
Yeah.
Right. So that's we instituted that system. And what it allowed us to do is like, hey, like, I'm not going to penalize anybody, but, the more you carry from us, like, we're going to make sure if you make that investment onto our brand, you will receive that investment and then some. With a whole new event structure that's also segmented to each, let's say, tax bracket. And the same thing with allocations on limiteds and things like that. So now that we're able to really control and know where we're sending product, we're able to kind of figure out how much product should we make, right? And on top of that, I've been blessed that on the production side, both my father and my brother have really turned it up a couple hundred notches. We had our largest renovation last year. Last year we produced, we grew 40% in production.
Okay.
Which is massive, right?
It is.
Same thing this year.
Well, especially considering there's a lot of companies that can't say anything close to that. In fact, they might be saying they might be down 40% or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that also has to do with now that there was a long-standing demand.
Yeah.
Also, I think that the work that my guys have been doing here and our new systems, right? Like, it feels nice to be told, you know what, I'm going to reward you. I promise your investment will be safe, and we're going to make sure you get that and all the more. And that's something, I've been very proud to institute here, and like just seeing how different everything has changed and how the retailers are now. Dude, I used to not pay attention to this SKU. I brought this in and it's my number one SKU now. Right? Like, seeing that's just gratifying because, I've just been preaching that I have really good product, and now people are trying it and they are seeing the same thing. So it really has been a blessing, and I'm super humbled by the trust I've gotten in a lot of retailers. Because again, I know it's not easy to hear shit from the words of at the time 24-year-old who has no idea what he's doing. But I mean, yes. So that's been the past year and a half. We also have a full team now. It's a very unique team, right? 2 of my guys are under the age of 26. And it's new blood. It's a new way of thinking. It's this new Gen Z. And while also being respectful to our tradition and to, our accounts. And it's been great. I'm just like, our main goal here is continue to, how much value can we provide to these to our accounts and make right or wrongs from the past? Although I wasn't involved with those, but as a company, we have an obligation to go ahead and fix everything in the past. So right now, production wise, we're as happy as we've ever been. Our accounts are happy as they've ever been, and we plan on keeping it going. Right, as I said, we're going to grow a large chunk this year as well and see it. Right, the renovations in the factory included a brand new storage department, new rolling room, new freezers, new expand quality control by twice as much. So it's a lot of cool things that in a way that just feel natural to us. So a lot has been going on. It hasn't fucking stopped, which is a good thing.
Oh, that's awesome. And going back to, you were talking about working with the retailers that are investing in you. What I love about that is it's that whole mentality of, dance with the one that brung you. It's like these are the guys that with their shops are putting in their money and investing into your company and giving you a big presence in their humidor. And, there's other companies that I could name, but I'm not going to, that one is a fairly major company that I've heard many, many complaints about back orders for. And meanwhile, they're announcing new locations overseas that they're opening up and this and that and whatever all over the place. And it's like, well, wait, Dubai can get their cigar, but I've been with you for 10 plus years, however many years, and I can't get my simple order of these boxes that I need. And so it's frustrating from a retailer perspective to see that happening. And so I appreciate hearing that LaFleur has doubled down and you guys are working with the people that are truly like, putting their finances behind you.
I mean, look, this is something that from the earliest memories I have of being involved, it's always been retailer first, right? And we lost ourselves a bit. So that's been my whole mission, right? And the other thing too that's cool about LFD is that like, this sounds crazy, but half of our accounts are accounts that opened up within the first 5 years of us in business. So I have, and like there's a lot of accounts that, when I, like are my uncles, like Billy at Jack Schwartz, right? Garofalo, like it's a little more than just like business obligations, it's these people who have, have it made this company his company. That's what makes it so hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So there needed to be a change. It couldn't just be our old system was fair in the same way that socialism is fair.
Yeah.
So there needed to be a change. There is. And as far as I'm reading, people are happy about it. Cool thing too. I don't know if you saw the very large, the needlessly large, a gentleman who looks like John Wick rolling cigars at the booth while you guys were there.
I did actually.
He happens to be my brother. We let him out of a cage every now and then. So that wasn't just a kind of, oh shit, we don't have anything to do at PCA. Let's have somebody roll cigars. So this, and I brought it up briefly, but we have this new event, all these new event programs. And that's one of them, right? So, and my whole philosophy on events is I am doing you, I am providing you a lot more if I educate your customers and get them hooked on something long term than if I walk in there, offer a 50%. So you get twice as many cigars for less money in one night and just have a big volume play. So all of our events are focused around education, right? We do up until the Home of the Hero event, which we're going to have one at the legendary Blue Smoke of Dallas in 2 weeks, right? All the events, we're smoking either wrapper, binder, and filler of any of our core lines. Or for the event that my brother will be partaking in, you're smoking the filler tobacco that we grow on our farm. So you get an understanding of what LFD is, why LFD, of each of the blends and how all the tobaccos come together and make up, right? At a couple as selective de la Canela events, which is theoretically for accounts who have 25 core line SKUs and up, you get access to that event. And then at some, my brother will actually be rolling cigars.
Wow.
Right. So
that's cool.
You don't see master blenders rolling cigars at shops often. A little less you see family members rolling cigars for your customers at your lounge in this industry ever. And that's something I'm super proud to be behind. And I'm super proud that we're able to now leave lasting impacts on your customers that, they're going to come back and put money back into your pocket, right? Yeah. Not just chase the next deal that's down the street.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So getting back to the future here. What is something that the industry is currently underestimating that will matter a lot in the future, in your opinion?
There's a million ways to go about this. One, AI operationally. From where I stand, I'm literally working on courses right now just so I can fix my shit because I'm the most technologically incapable Gen Zer of all time. So yeah, I mean, that's a huge one. I do know some companies, I don't want to name names, but there's a very prominent company and somebody I'm very good friends with who he's using it to help with supply chain and quotas at the factory. And it's been going great for him, And so I think that's one. Again, there's various things in this industry that we're safe, we're not losing our jobs. AI cannot replace us. Mm-hmm. So we're good, but I think AI is a huge thing, right? Talking about events, I think something that we need to work on is, how are we going to provide value other than throwing a 20% off, a 30% off, a 40% off, right? I hate to talk about other people's business, but I truly think we're just all doing ourselves a disservice, right?
Well, yeah, all you're doing at that point is just a race to the bottom.
Yeah. If you want to make a good product, you should stand by it. That's the way right? At the same time, there's always needs to provide value somehow.
For sure.
You could help people sell that product in other ways, right? So I think that's one. And the other harm that us too, if we look at everything, how are we going to hit our numbers this year, right? I'm talking about other companies. How are we going to hit our numbers? Okay, we're going to apply heavier discounts. You're just pulling market share now. We're not growing the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
We are an industry, for lack of a better term, we're an older industry. People come into this industry to become followers and lovers of cigars at a later point in life, right?
Well, so then
how do we bring it to a younger, right? So I think
bingo.
Creating experiences and having rituals in your lounges, having, not just 30% off or X is in the building this week, there's other ways to do it that are cooler.
Well, and that leads me to another question, which is, what the cigar customer of 2040 looks like. I mean, that's 15 years out. Well, 14 and this year, but we'll just round and say 2040, 2041. If we're talking 15 years out, that's somebody right now who, I mean, I'm going to be 45 this year. So I'm looking at being around 60 years old by the time we're talking at this point. But, you've got guys that, you're talking right now about trying to attract the 25-year-old consumer, that are going to be 40 at that time and so on and so on. I mean, you're talking guys your age that how do we get guys your age and slightly younger, got to stay within that 21-year-old, age range, but you get my point.
100%, man. And I think there are brands that are doing great right now. I think brands that are marketing on Instagram, TikTok, and they're doing a fantastic job. And I think they're growing puzzles, right? Again, you said it earlier, there's a lot of influencers who do smoke cigars now, and they roughly touch over it. There is a quiet consumer group that we don't know about, right? In that Gen Z population, who are slowly getting into it. Now, how do we bring them out, right? I also think a huge part of this, going back to what I said earlier, like, why are we going to shoot for people who we know are cigar smokers? Why are we not going to shoot for the 24-year-old who loves higher end tequilas and will be at a tequila tasting?
For sure.
How do we get in those doors, right?
But at the same time, liquor consumption is down, I kept hearing 40% at PCA. You know, so I mean, that's an
Liquor's
issue.
down, but
Obviously,
I think that like I think that liquor's down in the sense of I think we're kind of hitting a point in the scale, like, and this is completely on me. Like, this is just how I am. Like, quit drinking significantly, right? But at the same time, I will have a really nice glass of tequila every now and then. I'll drink socially. I'll go to dinner, order a nice tequila, right? Like, so I think that's a shift. Yeah, you have people that are not drinking altogether, but private members lounges are still a thing, right? That's
yeah.
something we're trying to get into big time nowadays. So there are, even though people aren't drinking, people are hanging out still. People are socializing. People want experiences they can't get, right? So if there's still room for us, and I think if we position ourselves in the right places and kind of comfort in an angle as we're not trying to make cigars your whole life, right?
Yeah.
But this cigar, it will accentuate whatever experience you want to get out of your life.
No,
right?
I like it.
And that's kind of how we go about this, right? To get that new consumer group.
So, okay. We touched on that. So like, you know, in terms of the culture though, I hear what you're saying. And I guess my only question back to that is, it seems like you're definitely focused on growing the pie and bringing in, you know, new consumers as well. But like, I guess up to now, it kind of has felt like that perhaps we might be just cycling through different audiences. That is, the old guys pass away, and we've got these people, and we're just staying with that. And I guess aside from social media and aside from, you know, this gets into the broader scope of marketing and branding and everything else. You know, what is the cigar industry? And again, this is all nebulous. I'm not asking for specific, you know, examples or anything, but like, where do you see marketing going in the next 15 years? I mean, you know, obviously, when you, how do I put this? When you look at a lot of brands these days, I feel like it's this, there's one in particular, and I don't want to mention them because I don't want to like, I don't want to be a shithead about it, but there's some that just come across as old. You look at it and like the packaging is old, the marketing is old, the branding is old, everything about it just looks old. And then there are other brands that you look at and it's like radically different and newer and fresher. And I guess where does LaFleur come into that? Because, you know, yeah, the Bull, I'm looking at the band on this. This is a unique looking band. I have another cigar here for inevitably when we continue our conversation that I'm sure we will get into, but the Carbon Flower, which is a whole.
You held on to it. Look at that.
I held on to that. I knew what I was doing.
Did you smoke one when you were there?
No, Sean fired it up right there when you gave it to us. And we walked away from your booth and he goes, dude, this thing's kicking my ass, like right away. So yeah. So I've been, dude, come on. I wasn't going to fire this up on the show floor with all the other people smoke in the area. I wanted to enjoy this thing, you know? So
I know, but there's another media I won't name because, you know, and
yeah.
but there's another a media who they judged, and I loved it. They gave the cigar a really high rating. And said person said it because if I could think about a cigar I'm smoking on that show floor, it must be really fucking good.
Well, see, and there you go. That's a valid point.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I think that project alone answers your question, right? I think what we did on the Carbon Flower with, you know, unique packaging design, something I haven't seen before. I know other companies have done things kind of like that. So I've been told. I've never seen it. But it's it's a new product entirely, right? It's a reusable carbon fiber case that has for 5 cigars. I gave you the case to play around with. Incredibly light. It looks.
It is very light.
It's not just throwing a bunch of logos on something for brand presence, right?
Mm-hmm.
LFD's not even on the thing. I actually have one here. Or no, I don't. God damn it.
Mm-hmm. Don't worry about it.
I keep losing these things, dude.
We have the video that you and I recorded at PCA. It's available on my YouTube, guys, if you want to check. Oh, there you go. It's
anywhere
right there.
on here, right? Except there.
Okay, right there.
Extremely like minimal, right? It's a cool product, right? And I think this is the tip of the iceberg for us. But like moving forward, you know, you're going to see a lot of releases like that. I'm staring at something in my desk that is the coolest box that will ever be released right now. So I'm really excited about that. It's fucking insane. But
Just pan the camera down just a little bit. No, it's okay.
Yeah. But I also think that, you know, again, you said no marketing, but I'm going to be real, right? Like these projects, at least for us, it's a lot more meaningful, right? And we have stories attached. So we don't just want to do promo videos. We want to create full-on movies. And you're going to be seeing a lot of that moving forward with all of our branding, right? So I think that's the more we keep trying to beat who we are and beat ourselves, the more we're going to move forward. And the rest of the industry hopefully follows with us. I mean, dude, there were some packages at this PCA that I was blown away by. Oliva. When I saw that, I was like, there's no way that works out. It was sick.
The soccer ball humidor?
Yes.
Yeah.
One way or another. I'm not a huge fan. It is where we got spicy. I'm not a huge fan of doing releases for very, like, you know, World Cup, America 250.
Yeah.
I love America. I'm just putting it here. I am America, okay? I love America. But, you know, like, so I was a little skeptical, but that soccer ball,
it was pretty cool.
I would buy one myself if it wasn't branded.
Yeah.
You know, but no, it's cool. And I think the more we go forward with things like that, we're going to be in good shape.
Well, so like, but marketing is hard for the cigar industry. You know, you talked about social media, and that's there, and you know, it kind of ebbs and flows. Like right now, you're saying that maybe some of the shadow banning is I mean, not in my experience, but you're saying that's kind of like lessened. But let's be real. At any given moment, Meta could turn the switch and say, okay, you know, that's that for cigars. You're promoting the use of tobacco. You know, my TikTok, they've come out for my drive time reviews. I'm no longer a profile that can be found in the exploratory, or it's not recommended or whatever they say, because I'm promoting the use of tobacco. My YouTube, they come after me all the time for promoting the use of tobacco, things of that nature. Meanwhile, and this is my own personal gripe, you can find videos on YouTube of how to shave your vagina. And it's like right there. But that's okay. But yet smoking a legal premium product, you know, is put underneath these different, you know, construct or restrictions on YouTube, whatever. My point is, marketing is difficult for the cigar industry. For my show, for your brand.
Yep.
Like what you got to get really creative to like be able to get those 7 touches in order to get somebody to like recognize, remember, and try your brand. So like, you know, obviously you have your social media platforms, you have whatever media partners, but like where do you go? Like how do you expand out of the box?
100%. That's a great question, right? You know, I think today and age that me holding a cigar like this with the band, depends on who I am, is as impactful as me doing a 3-minute long video about a cigar, right? So again, it's being in the right circles, right? With people who, you know, may have audiences and things like that. But, and not just that, you know, there's activating in person, right? And I think that's the only way to win this, right? You could post all you want, but if you're not in places where cigars are not, how are you going to bring people to where cigars are? right? And that's the bigger things, right? Like outreaching, doing events at a brick and mortar and doing great events, but also doing events in places you have no business being at, right? Like there's, at least in Florida, right? Restaurants could choose whether or not you can smoke, right?
Okay.
That's like a real thing. It's okay. How do we, and let's say X restaurant is doing a high end event. How do we be part of that? How do we make a cigar for this brand? Right. And it's doing things like that and initially coming across as like a gift, right? Because and even if you can't smoke, they'll throw a cigar in you. Like, it's things like that. It's being in places where cigars aren't and converting those people into thinking about getting into cigars.
For sure.
And that's something you do in person, right? You can't just convince somebody, especially when we're being shadow banned still. And by the way, when I said it eased up, I didn't mean it was away,
Yeah.
At least for us, we've noticed it's eased up a little bit. Like on my normal account, on my like personal Instagram, I see Fuente being sponsored on there all the time.
I see the sponsored ads from Cigar Aficionado all the time, and I wonder how they've managed to buy ads on Meta in that regard, because I can't buy ads.
Exactly, right? So I think that there are ways to move around it. So then that comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
But even if we're still talking about the piece of the puzzle that we have, we could be more upfront about our releases, right? We could still do campaigns. We could still talk about the history and the meaning. And I think when you get people buzzed on that, now they have something they could walk up to their friend who doesn't smoke cigars. Yo, look how cool this is.
Yeah.
Like a piece of art or a content video than it is just a picture of a cigar. Holy shit, I didn't like cigars, but that looks sick. I'm going to try that.
Oh, for sure.
Like word of mouth. By the way, we are the prime example candidate for word of mouth company. We didn't begin advertising or marketing really until last year.
Yeah, well, that's crazy to me because, I mean, obviously I've known about you since I got into the cigars and, and
word of mouth company.
Yeah. Well, so word of mouth does matter.
It works widely enough. I know it doesn't seem like it does. It works, because we only advertised for CA since the beginning.
Interesting.
And not heavily. And that was it. That was it.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to pivot for a moment. I want to talk about tobacco farming and supply chain. I have two questions there before we go into all sorts of other areas. So my first question, and I don't know, maybe this is more of a question for your brother, but I'll ask you. When thinking about tobacco availability, what do you see a shift towards new growing regions or countries becoming major players?
That's a great question because I've been speaking about this for like the past couple of weeks. Yeah. From that side of things, I think we are, and this is like to my point earlier, I think this is the best time for cigars. The options now are in fucking insane. And it's not just like, oh, a leaf grows here. That is confirmed. This is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest surprise of my life is when I get an unmarked package from India with Indian tobacco. I smoked it and I fell in love.
Really?
In love. The highest quality tobacco. It's almost like a sweeter broadleaf. I don't even know how to explain this thing. It is fantastic.
Interesting.
You have companies like CLE, which is a phenomenal company. They're highlighting Colombian tobacco.
Uh-huh.
Peruvian tobacco is making its way back. San Andres is hotter than it's ever been. And we're getting really high quality San Andres too. Right? So I think the regions, look, a lot of it, you could grow. I feel like we're probably in like anywhere between 15 to 20% of places we could actually grow tobacco. Just culturally, that hasn't been a thing. But the more we as human beings grow and move and transverse, we take our practices and put them in a middle of a valley in India. Now we have really good tobacco.
Interesting.
Right?
Now, obviously that brings up the inevitable question of, there's been a lot of talk about Cuba. And obviously, Cuba has, even if, let's say, tomorrow Cuba becomes quote unquote free, let's be real, there's lots of work that needs to be done to get it to the point where it's like growing quality tobacco again.
We're 20 years away if it opens tomorrow.
So, okay. So let's just put that aside, because I think that's one of those questions or conversations that I think people are having because of the novelty of it. But the one that I want to ask you about, and it's one I've wondered for a while, and I know there's all sorts of reasons, but I don't know what they are. Haiti. I mean, it literally shares the island with the Dominican Republic. If you're growing in the Dominican Republic, theoretically, the ground in Haiti would be comparable-ish, I would think. I mean, different regions, perhaps. Now, I know that there's all sorts of, oh, God, how do we get into this? There's different political reasons, perhaps, that Haiti might be problematic. But it feels like an area that...
You mean?
What?
The Clintons, you mean?
I just feel like there's a lot of reasons that Haiti could be a very viable source for tobacco. You have a large population of just being direct, impoverished people that, I think if a company were to come in, get their hands on some ground and everything, they could start paying people to farm. And, that would be a good thing for the people there. I just
100%.
I just feel like there's a lot of possibilities there, and I don't know what the complications
I've never
are.
been asked this, and I don't know much about the growing situation there, like what the land. I will assume that it's probably just as similar to the DR, to where it won't make up the headaches. You get me? And the headaches are, it's under a warlord right now.
Well, no, and that's the biggest headache, obviously, is the politics of the country.
I will know that we employ a large amount of Haitians.
Okay.
Right? And like Litto was leading the charge into, he was president of Pro Cigar. He's leading the charge of how do we, help the people who come over so that they don't end up being deported. Because the military would have random sweeps over farms. And they would just say, hey, if you don't pay us, we're going to drop you off on the other side of the border.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And Litto was huge, and he's working on it to making sure that we're able to hand out work visas now.
Okay.
And that's great because it changes these people's lives, and they're all good people for the most part. They're good people.
For sure.
So I know that's a big one. I do know this. So you go on Google Maps and you look at the border.
Yeah.
The Dominican Republic green and pretty, and then Haiti is just completely like void of all trees.
Okay.
So I checked that one out.
So there might be some growing complications on that side of the island, from what you're saying.
But on that note, right? So yes, Haiti's one, but like I will say, right? We as growers, there's also a lot of room to grow where we are already, right? That's everywhere, right? We can continue. There's always room for improvement, especially on that side of things, whether it's being more efficient, new seed varietals, right? The prime example of this is there's a farm in Connecticut that we buy from that they have a mind blowing from somebody who's used to farming in the Dominican Republic, and you see it in America. It's holy shit. Like one of off my bucket list, and I didn't even know before we stepped onto that farm. Like my cigar Hall of Fame bucket list was being at this farm. Like they're working on these crazy hybrids that just make zero sense.
Okay.
Right? You're seeing a lot of hybridization happen right now, and I think that's a really cool thing. And then also in the Dominican Republic, a lot of people do not know this. Yes, we grow fantastic tobacco in that country, but the infrastructure isn't there.
Okay.
So, and what I mean by that is a lot of it is small-time generational farmers, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of them grow great stuff, but the ones who have turned it into larger companies, a lot of them have loyalties to other manufacturers, right? And they may be financed. And then you have these smaller ones who they get approached by a large company who focuses on the volume of tobacco they have and cigars they can produce, and they get thrown a bunch of money. If you're a poor farmer in the middle of the Dominican Republic, you're going to make that money you're going to cheapen your process so you have a lot more left over.
No,
Right?
that's valid. Yeah.
So you're going to make use of what you got, and what you get is, crappier tobacco going in name brand cigars. However, we've already seen this year a very large, got released recently, corporation is now beginning growing operations over there, right? That's going to bring new people onto the farms. It's going to bring, in a couple of years, there's going to be new, I don't know the word, but like the agriculturists floating around, and they're going to bring them there, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, you have Fuente. They announced earlier this year, I think they purchased in our farm or something. Right? I know we're sooner than later, we're going to have an announcement about new growing operations. Right? So there's a lot happening, and there's that was a big part of what my father was trying to accomplish at Pro Cigar was, dude, you put us next to Nicaragua in terms of infrastructure, we're nowhere. Imagine if we have what we're putting out now, imagine if we had the same amount of infrastructure as Nicaragua. Right? And that has been the blueprint. I think it's worked. He did a fantastic job. He had the fact that he did what he did in 2 years, I'm shocked. But there is a lot of growth to happen at where we currently are, right? And that goes also for Nicaragua, Honduras, San Andres, with what's going on in Colombia, right? Hopefully we keep getting great tobacco out of there, right? I think we're going to keep pushing envelopes, and that I'm really excited for.
Okay, excellent. Well, I think this is a good opportunity for us to go ahead and pause the conversation here, and we will continue our conversation in part 2 in our next episode that will come out on Tuesday. So you and we're just going to take a break. Everybody else, we'll catch you on Tuesday.
And I really want to thank Litto Jr. for taking time out of his day to have this conversation with me. Now, guys, this is part 1 of our conversation, and I have part 2 scheduled out. It'll be coming out on Tuesday. So if you enjoyed this, make sure you tune in to part 2, where we get into a variety of other topics that we didn't touch on here. But I wanted to space this out a little bit. That way we didn't, really barrage you with too much all at once. And also, quite frankly, it gave me 2 episodes out of 1 conversation. Anyway, but he's got some good insights that I think everybody needs to hear, and I think it'll be a good conversation. Or I know it's a good conversation because, the magic of podcasting, it's done already. So anyway, I have still smoking the Andalusian Bull. I will freely admit that I did put this down for a little while. I'm relighting it. And it was funny when I put it down and, moved to a different cigar for our second conversation so that, the magic of podcasting, once again, Litto was like, dude, tell me you're not going to waste half a bowl. I'm like, no, I'm not going to waste half a bowl. I'll come back to it. So, no, I'm smoking it, and it's good. I will say, the Andalusian Bull, I don't know why. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've had one, and maybe it's just my faulty memory, and I'm totally chalking it up to that. I remember this cigar being stronger. This cigar is smoking very well. It's a nice, I don't know if it's just mellowed over the years. I don't know how long it's been in my humidor. It's been in my humidor for quite some time. But it's mellowed over the years, but it's not hitting me as a really strong cigar. It's hitting me as a very nice, maybe medium at best cigar. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I remembered it. I I remembered it being significantly stronger. So maybe, like I said, faulty memory. And it also might be one of those things where in my mind, I just automatically, when I think La Flor Dominicana, I think, powerful cigar. And, that's maybe an unfair assessment to them as a company because, obviously I've had the Digger and various other ones from the Triple Hero, things like that, where it's like, they are strong cigars. They put out some really strong cigars at LFD. But they also have some other ones that are much more elegant and nuanced that, maybe I have kind of like not overlooked, not forgotten, but I just don't think of when I think of them as a company. And man, that's not particularly fair. So anyway, yeah, I'm enjoying the Bull. So let's go ahead and move into this now. It's time for the Villiger Cigars Entertainment Report, brought to you by
Villiger.
Villiger Cigars, one of the leading cigar and cigarello manufacturers in the world, founded in 1888 and still family-owned and operated. Head over to VilligerCigars.com and check the store locator to find a shop near you that carries them. We guarantee that Villiger Cigars will be a wonderful addition to your humidor and cigar rotation. All right, guys, so I watched a documentary series on HBO. It's 4-part. I thought it was interesting. I like the historical documentaries every once in a while, just something to throw on and just watch and learn something. And this one was called Standoff, the FBI, Power, and Paranoia. It was 4 episodes, and it basically detailed the relationship between the FBI director and the president of the United States at the time. Now, the first episode, obviously, was much more contemporary, and it talked about President Trump. And hang on, I'm bringing it up on there. Oh, no. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, God. No, stop. I don't want to, watch something. I don't want to watch Homicide Hunter. What the hell? All right, there we go. The first episode is all about the relationship between James Comey and Donald Trump and kind of how that relationship broke down. The second episode was really interesting from a perspective of learning about kind of the early days of the FBI, because it was about J. Edgar Hoover and his relationship with Richard Nixon, and how that was actually a very friendly relationship for a long time until it wasn't. The third episode is all about Robert Mueller and his relationship with George Bush, W. Bush, and kind of how 9/11 and the War on Terror just really changed the entire focus of the FBI during that period of time. Because, Robert Mueller, he took over as director a week before 9/11, and he thought his whole focus as FBI director was going to be bringing the FBI into the digital age, bringing computers and the internet and all this kind of stuff and everything. And then 9/11 happens, and now it becomes a completely different mission, and all that. And then finally, the last episode is all about director Louis Freeh and Bill Clinton and their relationship, and how that relationship just went completely sour, horribly downhill, to the point that these men really didn't talk for 4 years. And you could make some real solid arguments that had their relationship not been as poor as it was, maybe 9/11 wouldn't have happened. It was an interesting perspective. So if you're interested in watching this, it's called Standoff, the FBI, Power, and Paranoia on HBO Max. I thought it was pretty cool. Each episode was about 45 minutes long. Like I said, it was an interesting look at the relationship that these directors had with their presidents, because the thing is, the FBI, it is supposed to be independent and autonomous from the presidency. However, the president kind of has a little something to do with it. But what happens when the FBI has to investigate the president? Where do those lines come into play? How does the FBI director avoid the Bureau becoming a strong arm apparatus for the presidency? How do they avoid the politics of the presidency? Things of that nature. It was a very interesting documentary series, I thought. So anyway, give that a check out if you're interested in that. Otherwise, still no Pinky. I'm working on it. We did talk. Like I said, she's busy with stuff, with her family. And hopefully, maybe once we get past high school, ending for the summer and things of that nature, I can get her over here and we can record some more fun facts. So anyway, well, guys, I'm available on the socials at Instagram at the Cigar Pulpit. I'm on Facebook where we have the Pulpit Parishioners group. It's a private group. You can request access to that and jump in on the fun there. Everybody kind of just comes in, smokes or talks about what they're smoking, gives little updates, and that's also where I make a lot of show announcements, and go from there. So head on over to Facebook and join the Pulpit Parishioners group. I'm on Twitter /X. You can watch the show on Rumble and YouTube. YouTube and Rumble is also where I put out my Wednesday drive time reviews. Those come out every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Central Time. Short, less than 20-minute little cigar reviews while I'm driving in the car. Very cigar heavy, so if you think this show needs more cigar content, you can get more there. And it's also on TikTok. I need to get better about posting that on time, but that's neither here nor there. And then Ask the Pulpit. I do need your calls. Call the hotline. Area code 863-874-0000. That's 863-874-0000, or Tofu Pie with no E 0000. Call in with your comments, questions, concerns, criticisms, whatever you may have. I take all the calls and do episodes where we burn through a bunch of the messages and I respond to each one, and they're fun. And then finally, if you are not signed up for the Cigar Chronicle newsletter, head on over to cigarpulpit.com. A little pop-up box comes up there. You can put your email address in. And then once a month, you'll get a email from me with all kinds of cigar information, goofy news, some fun facts, things of that nature. It's just a nice little newsletter that you can read. Like I said, I've had some people say they read it on the toilet. I've had some people talk about how it's just, interesting information. And a print version will be coming in May to lounges that have signed up for it. So I will be preparing that as well. So if your lounge is one of the ones that signed up for it, then you will be seeing that on the coffee table or the counter at your lounge sometime in May. Otherwise, this is the end of the show. Guys, I guess I do need to mention one more thing. So back in April, we did some Zoom herfs, and they went really well. And so I have scheduled out some dates for future ones. I did make this announcement in the Parishioners group on Facebook. Again, that's where I make a lot of show announcements. But Friday, May 29th is the next one. Thursday, June 25th, and Friday, June 26th are the ones in June. Saturday, July 25th, and Thursday, August 27th are the other two ones that are scheduled. They start at 6 p.m. Central Time. And I have the Zoom login information in the comment in the Parishioners group. If you are not a part of the Parishioners group, let's say you're just not a social media person and you don't want, and you're not getting that information, shoot me an email, nick@cigarpulpit.com, NICK@cigarpulpit.com, and I will be happy to send you the login information and the dates so that you don't forget that. Yeah, because I want people to come and participate. That was a lot of fun. It was just us just kind of getting on, BSing for a couple hours, having a smoke, and just kind of getting to chat and talk to one another. So if you're maybe someone that sits and smokes at home a lot and you want somebody to talk to, join in on one of the herfs. I've got these scheduled out through August. I'm working on building out the schedule for the rest of the year after that, but I wanted to get these going. So the goal is monthly. So we'll go from there. So anyway, make sure that you tune in on Tuesday for the other part of our conversation with Litto Gomez Jr. about the future of the cigar industry, and we will go from there. Guys, this has been another sermon from the Cigar Pulpits. I'm Nick. Everybody stay safe and stay smoky. You remember what I said about the Bull not having much straight? Oh my God. Oh, that retrohale came out of nowhere. Maybe it's because I relit it. Oh my God. But there was the strength. Yeah, the retrohale on this thing just caught me way off guard. So yeah, forget what I said about remembering the Bull being lighter than it or stronger than it was, because that it's hitting me there. So anyway, all right, guys, take care.